Hey, everybody. It's not often you get a legend on the show here, and we have one today. Dominic, the king of retail, as I call him. How are you, sir?
Thank you, sir. How are you doing?
Doing great. We've known each other in passing on social for over a decade. Love your content and the work that you do. Before that, just how do you introduce yourself these days to your followers, fans, clients, and beyond?
Sometimes just Dominic, other times Dominick Miserandino, CEO of Retail Tech Media Nexus.
Well, that's all. That's you said it all. So, talk about your bio and background. It's so interesting, your journey
Thank you,
into
sir.
the media retail empire that you've built over the last
Well, yeah, I was
decades.
definitely appreciate that and appreciate being on. I was born more out of media. I was in mainstream media. At that time, I said I was on the other side of the retail mirror. I was getting pitched all the time on that side of the mirror. Would you like to review my AirPod? Would you like to tell us how you love it and whatnot? And then I realized I cared more about how those sales occurred. I started mentoring startups, probably worked with over 200 plus e commerce startups. Literally, I got bored through COVID. And then after that, I got into the retail, the media side of it, created this Retail Tech Media Nexus, where we're basically connecting tech companies and retailers and media companies together. It's a little triangle there.
Love it. And give us a snapshot of the retail market as you see it. Best of times, worst of times, obviously somewhere in between. But where are we, in your humble opinion?
Reinvention, reinvention, reinvention. That's been the theme to me for the past 2 decades. Phone calls I had in the early 2000s were how do we handle going online? Mid 2000s, how do we handle mobile? And now, how do we handle tariffs? I've been on TV about tariffs. God, twice, 3 times a week for the past few weeks. It's been insane. But that's it. You have to kind of constantly remember that one most important thing that you are selling an emotion, the emotion of that thing. Why do I love this thing in my hands, whatever it may be? And as long as you kind of reinvent to that, you're good.
Yeah, and I think guys like you and I are always reinventing themselves, going through many incarnations and careers
Oh, yeah.
in tech and business. They call it digital transformation, which sounds very fancy, but it's basically, the old brick and mortar guys trying gals trying to digitize. Has digital transformation worked? I mean, outside of Amazon and Walmart, I mean, has it been a failure, do you think, or are there some
No,
bright lights?
I think there's tons of bright lights. I think that you could see the successes, the ones you've obviously mentioned. Right now, we're going through this mini. I think there's two transformations going on. You have the tariff transformation and the age of experience, I would call it. Uh,
Mm.
Everything's experiential now. It's connecting. It's pop-ups, and that certainly has soared much more than ever before. But yeah, those who are doing a good job at it, hitting home runs. They're hitting home runs at it.
And the home runs are largely, the companies many of us know and love, like Apple, the guys who have deep pockets, deep benches, IT and tech talent, galore, market cap. How's everyone else doing? Except the big brands who are killing it out there in retail. Again, Apple's one of my favorite examples, but we all can't be Apple, right? We all can't be Dominic, let's say. But
Oh,
how's everyone else doing? The smaller retailers, the SMEs, the mid market
I
in
think the smaller
in
ones,
tech.
yeah, those smaller guys who understand what they're dealing with. In that, there's one retailer I was advising, and I asked her, how many sales do you get a day? And it was 5, 10, 15 a day. She had bigger
Mm,
price per unit. And we got her calling every single customer. It stood
mm.
out. Everybody, she would say, thank you for the purchase and who do you recommend? And it started going viral. She would just call while folding the laundry. And I thought it was such an effective means of cutting through that noise of I'll just call you Evan. Thanks a lot for buying my widget.
I love that.
And I do think those are the techniques. Pop-ups. We Retail Tech Media Nexus. We're doing an event pop-up for one client, like right in their town, and inviting. So you can do that pretty easily. You can connect, and I think knowing of that size to be nimble is amazing.
Yeah, the one big buzzword I stole from one of your blogs is omnichannel. You talked about omnichannel strategy. Everything's converging, online, offline, different
Yes.
channels. What's next, though? When you cover every channel known to mankind, how do you ensure it's seamless and integrated and effective?
Yeah, well, that's a great question because it's not always effective. Um, my business, LinkedIn, is by far the best channel.
Mm,
But that doesn't mean the others are bad nor good. You're just
mm.
omni-channel. Sometimes, turn on everything is great, but I think it's a variant of turn on everything within your abilities and within your power. And whatever's going to also give you that conversion event. You have to think, is this going to do it? Like, I might have the ability to use Instagram as a channel, but maybe that's not going to convert it all for me. So even though I might have the time, you have to kind of weigh all those when you're looking at omnichannel.
Yeah, I think it's very generation dependent too. I mean, my kids just refuse to make phone calls, 20 somethings. And I think increasingly we're moving to a kind of hybrid world of messaging and apps. And
Absolutely.
where are the retailers investing these days in channels, both advertising, customer engagement, customer support? Do you have any,
Yeah,
insights
a
there? I'm
lot of the
sure.
investment, I think, in the past 4 months has been in terms of efficiency.
Mm,
There's one company I'm advising. They, for example, have a video experience right in store, so the consumer doesn't even have to go to the store. They can do it by video call. They can see their products. Parlor Retail, it's called, and it cuts out a cost. It cuts out that cost for the consumer in terms of delivery. I'm sorry, going there, and it cuts out the cost in terms of labor. And I think that those things are kicking in because we can't control the tariffs. We can't control supply chain right now. So if you can
mm.
control your operations, you have control over something at that point.
Yeah, well said. And you're outside of New York City, I believe, Long Island.
Long Island,
Um,
yes,
I think New York City is still the media capital of the world. But
100%.
do you think it's that in retail tech, retail trends? Do you think it's still the trendsetter? Because I look around the world, you got Shenzhen and Singapore and London and other places. I wonder if they're setting the trends for the future of retail. Where's New York City in the big picture of media and retail
That
and
is
tech?
a dangerous question because, the one hand, there's always an event in New York City. There's always
Yeah,
people in the field to meet in New York City. I get calls for dinners and events all the time, and I could probably do one a week. Fine.
right.
But then again, when you're talking innovation, I mean, I've seen some cutting edge stuff from all around the world. And that, especially in a post COVID world, there is no centralized as much. You don't have to say, let's meet up downtown Brooklyn and discuss X, Y, Z. Um, Shenzhen, China, I mean, China, there's so many people doing amazing cutting edge stuff. Like I was particularly thrown. I didn't expect it. I thought it was brilliant when during the initial, um, during the initial part of the tariffs, there was those factories in China going on TikTok, and not necessarily innovative. But I thought, yeah, that was just jumping into action immediately and responding within 24 hours with a message and uniform. And I think you're seeing that a lot in various places around the world. They're getting very cutting edge.
Very cutting edge. Speaking of cutting edge. AI has hit the retail sector as hard and as fast as any. I saw Google I/O this week. You'll now be able to make a darn good ad for peanuts using Google I/O tools, and create what was the 30-second spot. It might have taken weeks, months, and tens of thousands of dollars you can do for a few $100. That's just one example. How is AI hitting the retail space with the decision makers that you speak with daily?
I find it interesting because I don't know if we're societally caught up to where AI is. If you told me even a photo generation as good as it is, let alone this video generation, well beyond where I expected it to be. And I don't think the use cases, you need to have people really push it, as we normally do, to say, does this make sense? Does that make sense? I don't know if we're there yet in terms of understanding. The tech is there. But how we're going to use it, I feel like that's a different story.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And, that applies to the front office and the back office. Like every vendor you talk with at, the big NRF show is data-driven decision making and data analytics. And you go into a retailer and they're running on tech from the 70s or 80s, and there
Oh, my.
seems a big disconnect between all of this advanced data tech, data science, automation, and what the retailer can consume and deploy and manage. They don't have data scientists at scale unless you're Amazon or Walmart or Apple, what have you. So how do you make use of this tech, like data analytics or back office IT, effectively,
You
given their
really,
challenges?
it's definitely an education. There's
Mm,
one company I use, actually here in Long Island, Five Element Analytics, and I'll spend more time learning than I will sometimes
mm,
doing. And I think where there's a lot to unpack when it comes to data science, and I think the challenge is also I found retailers will throw everything up in the cloud and
mm.
not even make sense of it. Hooray, they have it up there, but no one's looking at that. And then you have to really constantly think of what this means, how it impacts your business, basically. That's a constant question.
Marketing is a puzzle. You can either give into the confusion or learn to love the solve. On the Axiom's Real Talk About Marketing podcast, guests like Aaron Schaefer of GM share how to manage challenges.
Make sure that you're not fixed in terms of what you're thinking about. The team's going to change. The way teams operate are going to change. COVID was a great example of that. The industry is going to change. Are cookies going away or not? That was another great example of that. And so how do you continue to evolve as the space evolves?
Guests from HP, The Trade Desk, and Databricks share thoughts on today's marketing landscape. Find Real Talk About Marketing on YouTube, Axiom.com, or wherever you hear podcasts.
Yeah, and not getting bought into the vendor hype is a challenge. They're
Oh,
spending gazillions on marketing. It's easy to get caught up.
that vendor hype, if you stand at NRF and say, does anyone have a unified data solution? I mean, 500 hands will raise at that point. And that doesn't help anybody. There's
And
too much
speaking of
authority.
NRF, I mean, it remains the powerhouse in the industry. Seems to get bigger every year. Is that just going to continue in perpetuity? Are there other events that you're focused on in retail tech? And
Yeah,
what do you think the future of big events like that is?
I'm not sure. Like I've been doing a lot with GDS and Mill Alliance recently, for example. And sometimes I find it easier when there's less crowd, less noise. You can sit down, you can have a conversation. But also, there's so many specific ones. I just did a keynote at a conference called Deliver in the fall, and it was just people in the delivery space. And I just found it fascinating to get that uniform point of view and those people hyper focused on that one area in the room with enough of the crowd that you don't have to worry about grabbing 30 seconds while you're on a line like at a bigger conference. But I think each has its own place. Sometimes it's great to be able to give 58 high fives in 20 minutes. That's true, and other times you just want to say, hey, can we just sit and have a coffee and actually handle that meeting here and now?
Yeah, no, the power of intimacy. A lot of money continues to pour into customer experience, CX for short, and you really see the big tech leaders taking advantage of it. I mean, it's really amazing to shop from Apple or Amazon these days. But my average bank branch or pharmacy, probably not so much.
Yep.
Um, how are you seeing retailers leverage, all these amazing CX, customer service, even contact center tools
Oh, I
to
love the
enhance
question.
customer experience?
One of the other questions along with that I'll get is CX and personalization. And I think at times my mindset, especially on personalization, has been changing because we personalize to the point of almost numbness. Everything is personalized. And then you're like, okay, you're just like with AI. How often can you now tell when it's written by AI just instinctually? We get used to it and then we say, maybe not, maybe too much here. But also the consumer has gotten used to things of a certain quality, a certain level, a certain ease. So there's a certain standard there. And I think, especially in retail, the constant reminder that you're serving the customer ultimately, whatever that experience needs to be at that level it needs to be, is vitally important.
Yeah, no, when it feels right and it feels genuine and honest. It's a great feeling,
Exactly.
actually.
You can always tell right, genuine, honest, and I always, strive and double check myself even all the time. How can I make this better? How can I fix this better for myself?
Yeah, totally. So I know you get this question asked a million times. You've been on, every network talking about tariffs. So, as we speak here, it's Friday. I'll push this out probably next week. We're back on punishing the EU. We're back on punishing Apple. But what's your take on how this might resolve? What scenario are you high, medium, low road are you behind at the moment on how the tariff story is going to play out over the next few months in retail?
That is a great question because I think the challenge on the tariffs is more so the consistency, that supply chain consistency. You're seeing LA ports getting, reduced ships coming in. And I think that every business needs to some degree to predict. Now, you can't always, who knows what's going to happen next quarter, next month, next year. But the prediction. And I wonder at what point do we all say, I just want to know what's happening. I want to know for sure. And there, I think, is going to be before burnout in terms of the tariffs themselves. It's going to be a burnout in terms of being able to predict what's happening. And that's really going to hit people.
It's going to hit people hard. And I think, the big Fortune 2000 can probably weather that. There's lots of ability to manage that. It's going to be harder for early stage companies and startups and small retailers. You said you mentioned you mentored over 100 startups. What are startups saying to you about navigating this complexity and all these challenges these days? And how are they doing it in practicality?
It's all practically supply chain. That's everything. And they're all, I know one called me and she simply said, I do not have the margin. I cannot cover these tariffs in any way. Wow. I have to shut down, period. I'm dead. I can't get it domestically. There is no chance. I have one contact. She used specifically artisans in Italy. It's like they don't exist here. There is no artist in Italy. I cannot get this up to speed. I can't fly people here from Italy to train locals. It's just not going to happen. and her margin was so tight. But so I think it's so case by case at that point. Every case is a little bit different at that point.
It is, and I feel lucky I'm in a business that doesn't produce any goods, just content.
Yeah,
Speaking of
we are the
which,
safest business in the world of content.
so there's no tariff on content yet, so or tax. We'll see if that plays out. But what are you up to the next few weeks and months? What's on your mind? It's a little bit quieter over the summer in the industry, maybe. No events cool down, but what are you up to?
Yeah, I know. That's actually the big question in this entry. I've been looking possibly putting together a few things over the summer to keep things a little awake. Having a few conversations about that right now, actually.
That's fantastic. And tell us about your business. I mean, I'm as you know, I'm a content creator, a TV host now on a show called Tech Impact, and I podcast and blog, and I think we'd call each other influencers of a sort,
Yeah,
although we
I,
don't
I
do
agree.
TikTok very. How's business otherwise?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I agree. It's become this new influencer world, and that in turn has created this business. On the tech companies calling me saying, "Dominic, do you
Mm,
know so and so?"
mm,
I have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. I know so and so, whoever that so and so may be. So we've created two legs of it, if you will. One leg is connecting the tech to the retailers. Do you know
mm.
so and so? And then the other, we have a leg for the B2B PR side. PR company, tech companies trying to connect to the media. But it's timing too. I think that's all we're looking for as people is just to connect. And I'm proud to make a business of who do you want to meet and how do you want to connect to them, and we make it happen at that point.
And I think it's nice to have a business that, okay, nominally you call it an influencer, but it's not. We're not selling beauty products, obviously. We're not selling makeup and hair products, obviously. So there is an appetite for B2B content, which is really cool. And the fact that we both make a great living at it is a testament to what's possible on social and
100%. I think we have social. We all want to connect, essentially, as humans. I think we learned that via COVID, and we learn it now, and any opportunities we can make for that, the better.
What channels are working best for you? I mean, I find, podcasting is really great. I mean, I listen to podcasts all day, and apparently there's, even for niche topics, you pick retail tech, but any other B2B topic is pretty niche. There's a great audience on podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube,
It's
podcasts,
funny.
various
I think
content. But what other formats are working great for you?
At times I meet people, I will actually ask them that question in terms of communication.
Mm.
How do you want me to contact you? LinkedIn message, WhatsApp, text, phone. And I've had people say Instagram. And I think that's where we're evolving, where it's not necessarily the one. I mean, LinkedIn has been incredible. I'm thrilled having so many connections reach out. I probably get dozens minimal of messages a day, if not usually about 100 plus. But that doesn't mean a better nor worse. It's almost, like we said, Omnichannel in terms of communication, in terms of media, each of these channels, I think, is an active and valid communication. You just have to figure out what your audience wants and what works best for you and find that mutuality.
Yeah, and I think brands need to think more expansively about their social reach and, multi-channel, omni-channel, being in more places, being interesting, being fun, being funny like you are, and not so straight-laced, which, most brands can be pretty boring. So working with folks like yourself is a great way to liven up their
Thank you
content,
very
their point of
much.
view, their perspective. I look forward to seeing you when I'm in the city next. I won't even hold the Celtics loss to the Knicks against you, but I will look forward to breaking bread. So look forward to seeing you
I
soon,
love it,
Dom.
man. I'm looking forward to it too. We should
All right,
definitely do that.
thanks. And thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening, watching, checking out my new TV show, techimpact.tv. And until then, take care.
We'll talk soon.